This is the Inferno Podcast, the official podcast of UAB Athletics. Blazer fans, this is the place each week to get an inside look into UAB Athletics. This episode of the Inferno Podcast is brought to you by the Alabama Department of Public Health and Pearl River Resort. Welcome into the Inferno Podcast, episode 16. Landrum Roberts with you here. Your weekly look inside of UAB Athletics. And we got a really busy show on tap for you. And as always, the weekly rundown is brought to you by Legacy Credit Union, the official credit union of UAB Athletics. Well, we got a busy show. College basketball season in full swing. We will put a bow on the college football season for the UAB Blazers, but both men's and women's basketball in full swing at Bartow and beyond. Coach Andy Kennedy is going to sit down and join us. We'll talk about some of the early season happenings, what he has seen from his team, what he expects from his team, and also coming up, we'll have our Scholar Athlete of the Week, Yaxel Lendeborg, a big part of that UAB men's team, and what he offers already a few double-doubles this season, and Yaxel Lendeborg continuing to put his stamp on college basketball. Later on in the show, we're going to have the voice of the Blazers, David Crane, and his call of the week. That and so much more. Stick around. It's the Inferno Podcast, and it comes your way next.
As UAB athletes, there's nothing we like more than the roar of the crowd.
Around here, we say we win as one.
One.
And to keep cheering for the green and gold.
There's one thing we need from you.
Ask your doctor about an RSV vaccine.
And help protect everyone. Our littlest Blazers and our most seasoned fans are most at risk from RSV.
Ask about your RSV vaccine today.
So we can all stay in the game.
And win as one.
Welcome back in to the Inferno Podcast. Landrum Roberts keeping you up to date on all things you need to know inside of UAB Athletics. Today's weekly update is brought to you by the Alabama Department of Public Health. To help protect all UAB fans, ask your doctor about your RSV vaccine today so we can all win as one. Well, the college football season came to a close for Trent Dilfer and the UAB Blazers, unfortunately, at the hands of the Charlotte 49ers last Saturday inside of Jerry Richardson Stadium. 49ers getting the best of the Blazers by a final score of 29-27. Women's and men's basketball in full swing as well. Let's start with the women's side and Coach Randy Norton. His team now 5-2 on the year, traveling south to Niceville, Florida to take part in the Emerald Coast Classic. Well, they took one on the chin against a very talented Clemson team out of the ACC, but they bounced right back in game 2 of that Classic and knocking off Alabama State by a final score of 76-43. Maddie Walsh, she continues to be a force, as does Rain Tucker, Sarah Burschers as well. UAB and Southern Miss this past Sunday at Bartow Arena. The winning continued, 87-66 over their former conference foe in the Golden Eagles. Once again, it was Maddie Walsh, 16 points, 4 of 6 from outside the arc. Rain Tucker, 12 points in that output, and Sarah Burschers with 11 points as well. The Blazers shot at 16 of 30 from outside the arc. If that shooting continues, continued success for Coach Norton and the Lady Blazers. Meanwhile, on the men's side, Coach Andy Kennedy still trying to get a feel for his team. Some faces back from last year's roster, but you work in some new faces. And, of course, the transfer portal age and trying to get everyone acclimated. Unfortunately for the Blazers, they take on a very good Middle Tennessee team this past Sunday inside of Bartow Arena. They were able to battle back, but it was Middle Tennessee winning that game 76-69. Yaxel Lendeborg, our student athlete of the week, who's going to be joining us later on in the show, he continues his dominating play, a double-double, 16 points and 10 rebounds for the senior. Well, speaking of UAB men's basketball, Coach Andy Kennedy, the Coach's Corner, he joins us next on the Inferno Podcast. Welcome back inside of the UAB Blazer Inferno Podcast. Landrum Roberts along with UAB men's head basketball coach Andy Kennedy. We're going to visit with Coach in just a moment, but always want to remind you, today's Coach's Corner is brought to you by Pepsi and Viva Health. Well, first of all, Coach, speaking of health, how are you and your family?
I'm not
the
feeling
holiday
great.
season?
I'm a little down. No, we're healthy and whole, happy, grateful.
We have a lot of things to be thankful for, right?
Amen. Amen. We have a lot of things. I'd remind myself of that 72, 73 times a day.
Okay, that's always helpful. I have to do the same thing.
No, life is about perspective, is it not?
It is.
And you know what's crazy? I know these youthful looks will fool you, but I've been a head coach now for 18 years. You can see all the creases and you would think after 18 years of going through literally ups and downs every single season, none have changed. The ones that finish good, the ones that don't finish good, you're still going to ride that seesaw. You would think I would just be more accustomed to the agony of defeat, but you just don't get used to it.
Because you're a natural-born winner.
Well, I don't know about natural born, but I try real hard. And when you lose, it is just such a gut punch. I tell people all the time, there's two states of a coach, and there's winning and there's misery. And there really is no in between. So we hadn't been real happy with our start, but I'm also realized that, man, I have been in much darker, deeper valleys than this one. And we've got to find a way to pull ourselves out.
Somebody asked me the question on the show that we do weekdays on Jock 94.5. As a fan, would you rather your team get blown out? Would you rather your team lose in heartbreaking fashion? For me as a fan, I'd rather my team get blown out.
So you're not second-guessing each and every little thing that could happen?
It would just amounted to a crappy day. We didn't play well, and I'm already conditioning myself. And by the time that the clock hits zero, I'm good. I realize that is much different, especially with the amount of games for a college basketball coach, is it not?
Yeah, you're right. And I would like to avoid both possibilities, both the close losses and the big losses. However, when you lose close, and we've lost 5 basketball games that I think arguably we could have won them all. Every game that we have lost has been a 1 possession or less game with under 2 minutes to play. So then you just go through the inventory of decisions that are being made throughout the course of the game, and you say, well, should we have done this? Should we have done that? Should we have put him here? Maybe we can't have this combination. You just go through all of these things, and that's part of the growth, honestly, of understanding who your team is.
We're going to talk about your team, but I do want to go from the scheduling angle. And for you, and I realize in just talking to college coaches across all sports how tough scheduling is, especially these days. But when you look at a schedule, where's the balance between really challenging my guys, making sure that we can find some success against some of these opponents? How do you juggle that?
You never really know. You used to think that, okay, I'm going to make an educated guess on who this team has returning, how they do last year. But now with the portal, literally, you can schedule a game and 60% of their roster can change. Some of these games are on the back end of a home and home, and some of them are over a 2-year deal, and then some of them are we scheduled them as of August. We're just trying to fill spots, and some things change. We had an opponent who wanted to push the series back. So, coaching change reasons. So there's all kinds of things that are in play, and you never really know because of the transfer portal now. There's so much fluidity on rosters. You try to schedule to a standard that gives you a really tested look at who we are. You have to learn. There's a confidence aspect to it. You need to find your rhythm a little bit, especially early in the season. But you also want to be tested as you head into late December, early January as to who you are and what's your best path moving forward to be successful. I think we've done that. I don't like the results. No one likes the results. But I think we have challenged ourselves in a way that I think we have a better understanding of who we are and what is our path to success. Now, my group has to develop the discipline to stay to that path.
I'm curious because you mentioned rosters, and now in the transfer portal era, NIL and all of that good stuff, if you want to call it good, some days it's good, some days it's bad, but parity. And we talk about it, especially this year in college football. I know that you can't speak from a college football head coach's perspective, but you can certainly speak from your sport in college basketball. How much more prevalent is parity now in college basketball as opposed to maybe where it was since the inception of the transfer portal and NIL?
Well, there's just more balance. Kids are not going to be patient. They're going to move and move quickly. To tag what you were talking about with college football, you see it. I've never seen more parity simply because teams that used to could stack 2, 3, 4 deep, those guys aren't waiting anymore. They're moving, man. And now they're spread across a wider landscape. Same thing's happening in our sport. Guys here, guys there. And with the COVID year, I'm anxious to see – this is the last year of the extra year. Like literally, we're playing kids that have been in college 5, 6. We played a kid in the Virgin Islands that was in his 7th year in college after the transfers and the COVID and he had some injury situations. It's just bananas.
And he's not going to be a doctor.
Well, it's just, but I don't. He's not going to be my doctor. It's just bananas the way the whole thing has unfolded. And I'm anxious to see once we get through all of these extra years, how it's going to settle the landscape.
Well, and from a college football perspective, I think we were all fooling ourselves and thinking, well, the elite will still be the elite.
And
the
they
cream of
are.
the crop. And they are. But you even look at a Georgia squad or an Alabama squad where they used to be just so deep at every single position, and they were 2-3 deeps, and it was just 5-star here, 5-star there. That's changed.
I think what we're seeing, it used to be, okay, the Blue Bloods were always going to be the Blue Bloods in every sport. And then you get in the SEC, okay, those top 6 or 7 are pretty good, but now you look up and number 11 is pretty good and number 12 is pretty good. And, well, Vandy, where'd they come from? You know, all of a sudden now, because of a player here, a player there, things can change. How did Vandy change? Obviously, Clark Lee's a really good coach, and I don't know the man. I wish him nothing but the best. But I know Pavia kid, he changed the tune, didn't he?
Go to Las Cruces and
get that.
You a
he changed the tune in
did.
Nashville. What? Keep up now. So he changed the tune literally.
Right.
And that's what happens in my sport. A player here, a player there, a hit here, a miss there, and things change.
Coach, I'm a little slow. You'll have to forgive me.
That's all right.
But I try real hard, and I'm coachable.
Listen, I work with a lot of slow people.
Coach Andy Kennedy continuing to join us here on the Inferno podcast. You mentioned, and now it's changing for guys like you and for coaches everywhere and managing roster because, and I'm glad it's just us in this setting and talking about it, but kids in the culture, and it's not just maybe kids on your roster, but it's happening all over the place. And there is a sense of entitlement, and it has been very one-sided and geared towards the student athlete. And I feel like it's given a lot of good coaches in a lot of sports an even steeper hill to climb. And not only were you already dealing with young people, but now you're dealing with certain personalities and the culture, the microwave society. I want it right now. If I don't get my way, I'm going to take my gear, and there's going to be somebody willing to pay me to leave where I currently am.
Yeah, it's changed. You know, I was a transfer myself, so I am all for, and I was a player myself. Some nights better than others, but I'm all for player empowerment. But I also think that we have a huge responsibility as a coach, meaning me, that I've really got to try to help them learn some real tough life lessons. I've said this about my team after every one of our losses, most especially lately, that our team doesn't really like hard. And then I started thinking about that. That was a stupid thing to say. Who likes hard? But you have to learn how to endure hard. Hard is part of the process, and you've got to have enough discipline to understand that it's going to be difficult for me to achieve what I want to achieve. And I think we're losing a little bit of that simply because when it gets hard, as opposed to pressing through and understanding the lesson that is learned through perseverance, guys are just dipping, and they're just looking for what's next. And so then when the eligibility ends, whether for whatever reason, then what are you going to do? Because life, I assure you, is going to be very, very difficult, and you have got to learn how to take some punches. And I think if you don't develop that in the formative years of 18 to 22, 23, it's going to be very, very difficult on you as an early adult because life's going to kick you.
You're absolutely right, Coach. Right now, your team stands at 4-5. You were at this point almost last year, 4-5. But not even talking about results. I want to talk.
That was not the plan. At the end of the day, I wish I should have brought the trophy.
Kennedy way.
Exactly. I mean, we did make March Madness last year. I wore this specifically. It wasn't the way. It was like, hey man, let's start 4-5 because it worked out great last year. That was not the plan.
But you wore that to remind.
To remind myself.
Surely nobody's being critical after just 9 games, right?
Oh, come on. As a coach, but just what you signed up for. This is not the Army. They did not draft me to be the head coach at UAB. I signed up for this.
Well, you're not one of these frou-frou coaches. Just you're a good old, you're a Southern boy, guy straight out of Mississippi.
I hate coach speak.
Do you know what hard is?
Do you like coach speak? I just try to avoid it.
No, we hate it.
But you have to be smart. I can't be completely transparent. That's waiting.
Well, you could.
You could, and then you're probably not going to be coaching at a public institution very long. You could be. I try not to give you coach speak, but at the same time, I can't go Pat McAfee on you and just tell you the 100% truth.
No, don't do that.
Not just yet.
No, not just that. We continue our visit with UAB head men's basketball coach Andy Kennedy here on the Inferno podcast. But the psychology of team personalities, I know beggars can't be choosers. Not that you're a beggar, but the transfer portal, and it's a very volatile market as far as the services of very talented individuals and coaches trying to land a few of them to make up their current roster. But how much personality comes into it when you think about how much in depth are you going on kids' personalities? I'm sure that you're talking to their former coach, but how
everybody
they
lies,
might blend.
though. Everybody lies.
Yeah.
Here's what's tough about the transfer portal. The good thing is, okay, if you've got a bad situation, you can remedy it pretty quickly. If you're coming into a new situation, okay, you can change the dynamic. Back in the old days, if you were taking a new job or you had a tough year, it might have taken you 2 or 3 years to kind of find a way to dig out of it. Now you can flip it. But the opposite of that is the fact that literally we're recruiting. We signed in the early signing period. We signed 2 high school kids that we're really, really excited about. One local product, Salim London, that plays at Hoover High. We feel fantastic about his future.
He's so much fun to watch.
And a kid named Lance Carr out of Dallas, a terrific, terrific family. The kid's got tremendous potential. And then we took a junior college kid. So we signed 3 kids early. We will then lean into the portal. We know we have 6 seniors, but realistically, we'll have a couple of guys leave, this, that, whatever. So we're going to be heavy in the portal. And it happens so fast. It is speed dating, man. So you have got to have somebody in the inner circle or connected to the prospect that you believe and have a relationship with, that you can trust what they're telling you, because you just don't have enough time to really dig as deep as you want to dig.
How does that go? Take us behind the curtain. You have your existing roster, guys that are used to one another. They're coming back. They know that you guys are trying to fill spots through the portal. Do you have like a meet and greet? Do you have like a social? What are we doing to let these guys get acquainted with one another? Are we doing a retreat, team building?
Yeah, what we do is the good thing is now everybody comes to summer. So as soon as they're finished wherever, their academic responsibilities, wherever they are, that's still part of the equation. You don't hear that much anymore.
No.
There is an academic component to college. I think people sometimes have forgotten about that.
My parents had to remind me multiple times.
Well, I mean, there is an academic component to the term student athlete that we're going to continue to use, I suppose, till we don't. But ultimately, they got to fulfill their responsibilities. Then they come, and we're together in June, and we have them for like 8 weeks. In June, July, early August. You get an opportunity, less pressure. You can't have them full time. So there's a lot of opportunities to get to know one another over the course of the summer. Then you come back in the fall and it gets on you pretty quick.
So are they kumbayaing right now?
Everybody kumbayas until those games start.
Yeah.
Because there's only 200 man minutes. And I've got 13 scholarship players, and they all think they should play 40 minutes a game. So I'll let you do the math.
Of course.
But it exceeds 200. I do know that. And so ultimately, until you get to those games, until roles start becoming defined, until guys have to start understanding their role, there's going to be some pushback on every angle. And then when you start 4 and 5, they all say, see, I told you, if I was playing more, or if I was shooting more, or if you were just a little nicer to me, then we would be winning more. So we're going through a little bit of that.
Well, so shoot more doesn't always mean score more. Sometimes it just means miss more. You were prolific, and I told you before we started the podcast, I grew up watching you here in Birmingham, and I was just always so amazed at, number one, you never saw a shot that you didn't like, but the amount of shots that you were able to knock down, especially in pressure situations, it was almost like the redheaded kid from the outside. Anytime you got the ball, you were going to score. That is not the case with everyone. I know that you worked hard at your craft, but I heard a college football coach once say, and it was Mike Leach, God rest his soul.
God rest his soul.
He said something about quarterbacks. He said, I don't think that you can coach accuracy. I think that it's a God-given gift. I realize that you were given and blessed by God with a lot of natural shooting ability, but you also worked on your craft. How much of that is true with some of these guys that might be struggling with their shot?
No, I think you can improve shooting, but I think as Mike Leach, and I never heard that, but when Mike Leach talks about accuracy of a quarterback, I think it's a shooting eye. I think there's technique things that you can do, and obviously repetition and habits. I think habits over everything. We preach that every day. At the end of the day, habits over everything, man. Habits over inspiration, habits over motivation, habits over talent, habits over intellect. We're all going to boil back down to our habits. So we try to create good habits technique-wise, but I think there's a lot of guys that I have coached that if you watch them from a technique standpoint, you would think, man, that should go in more. But there's a shooting eye that I think that is recruited and not developed, and then you just try to work on form stuff. But for our group right now, we're really struggling. It really has magnified. It's the worst defensive team as it relates to connectivity that I've had in our 5 seasons. It's early, but we haven't been very good defensively because we're not connected enough, and that has to change. But I think all of those things are exaggerated. As I said earlier, we've been in every game. It's been a one-possession game until the final 2 minutes, and our offense has really, really left a void in our inability to be consistent on that end as well, and it comes down to shooting. Spacing is great. Execution could be good, could be bad, but ultimately if that ball doesn't go in the basket, it's all for naught. And we've really, really struggled from behind the three. We've shot under 30% on the year, which is in the bottom 10, 15, 20% of college basketball. So it really, really puts an onus on the other things that you may not be doing as well.
When it comes to your guards, and you've got a couple, and they haven't quite found their stroke and maybe what they're capable of from outside the arc, but you as a coach in knowing a shooter's mentality, is there a red light? Is there a green light? Or is it situational, whereas you tell a guy that was a dumb shot in this time and score situation as opposed to, well, that was just a dumb shot?
Yeah, it's just one we practice. I mean, you cannot micromanage in basketball because you're going to go from offense to defense to special teams all in about 7 seconds. And so you can't micromanage. You've got to be able to develop this next play mentality, which is really a discipline. But I'll be honest, again, I've coached a bunch. When you're missing shots, there is this deflating aspect to you personally, to your team, to the crowd. You know, your mojo's down, man. You know, you got when you're making shots, it's amazing how you're flying around defensively and taking charges and doing all those things. And we have really struggled with our core of guys, the guys that primarily have come to UAB. They're in our locker room primarily because we need them to make shots. And we've struggled in that area. They know it. Dude, we talk about it. You know, I don't not talk about it. It comes up. It'll come up in a variety of ways. And at the end of the day, as Gene Bartow told me every game, players play, man.
Yeah.
And he's right. That transcends, bro. That's Gene Bartow from Memphis to UCLA to UAB. Players play. And as a coach, I have to try to put them in the best position possible for them to be successful, and then they got to go play.
And looking at some of the trends and what we've seen in college basketball, and I think up to the point of us having this discussion, it was around 38.5%. Some people think it might get to 40% as far as the amount of threes that are taken, how much scoring is actually coming from the three.
Percentage from the three.
Yeah. And do we see it, because the NBA game has changed, and I don't want to go down this wormhole, but when I was watching it seemed like that there was more of an inside game.
Yeah,
now it seems like it's a dunk, it's an easy lay-in, or
it's
somebody
analytics.
shooting it from half court.
It's just crazy analytics, and I believe in analytics, but also want to play to the strength of the player. We shoot at what many people would term as poor percentage shots because they're mid-range twos, but it just so happens that's kind of what our strength is right now with our inability to make threes. A lot of people analytically are going the opposite route. They're just shooting threes or layups, and it makes sense from a percentage standpoint, but you have to have personnel that can do that. And when you're struggling from a confidence standpoint to knock down threes, you got to find alternate ways to score.
What are the things that you're most pleased with through 9 games of this early part of the season?
I like our group. We still, you know, one of the reasons that we were the preseason favorite in the AAC was the fact that we were returning 62% off the tournament championship team. And with that came an expectation of experienced and continuity early. We still have those same players. We just have not played with continuity. We just haven't played well. Some games it's offense, some games it's defense. But as I go back and I analyze and I twist and turn at night trying to think of a way to help this group. Again, every game that we've been in and lost, it's been a one-possession game with under 2 minutes to play. So we have to make adjustments, but we also have to do the things that we have been doing since June better, be more efficient. I call them moments of truth. There are about 4, maybe 5, depending on tempo, moments of truth throughout the course of a 40-minute game. And the team that wins the majority of those will typically win the game. Last year's team won a lot of them after their 4 and 5 start. I hope this year's team can win just as many, and this thing will get back to where we want it to be.
Well, and that's and this is a compliment to you, Coach. But even going back to your Ole Miss days, you always knew that Andy Kennedy's group was going to play hard. They were going to give effort. But also, if you want to go back to even most recently, your teams, especially here on the South Side, have seemed to have gotten better as the season has gone along, and I think every coach would take that if they had the option.
Yeah, I would hope so. Typically teams can come out on fire early. Most teams improve. Injuries, knock on wood, injuries kind of change the dynamic. I've been doing this a long time. I've had some ups and downs, and there's going to be potholes along the way. But this team, number one, you're always searching for your formula. What is the formula by which we can be successful? We have to discover the formula. I think this team knows it, but until we start shooting the ball better, we're very, very reliant on low percentage things. So we've got to make threes to the level that Butta Johnson, A.J. Vasquez, Tyron Moore, they're capable. They've shown capable. So we've got to play to our potential in that regard. And then number two, we have to develop the discipline. We have to be able to embrace hard, endure hard, persevere through hard to get to the other side. And that's where we are right now as a team.
We're going to have Yaxel. He's going to be joining us for our student athlete segment, and you're going to be sitting in. But we're talking about some of the newcomers and some of the newer faces to your roster. And one guy from over in Mississippi, but a guy that is familiar with Marion County, Winfield, city schools, and Jabari McGee, and what he means and the role that he plays in your offense, especially.
Jabari's only played 9 Division I basketball games. He out of high school, he went to Garden City Community College in Kansas. Then he transferred and played at South Plains, the same place that Chris Coleman played the year before in Levelland, Texas, which is just outside of Lubbock and Texas Tech University. Jabari's got all the physical tools. He's a powerful guard. Right now, the game is going so fast for him. He's having he's thinking more than reacting, and you can't be successful long-term in basketball until it's a reaction. You see it. It slows down in your mind. If you remember last year when we were 9 games in, the guy that's going to join us right after this, first-team All-League Defensive Player of the Year, MVP of the conference tournament, preseason Player of the Year, preseason All-American, a number of publications, Yaxel Lendeborg, you would never have thought he would have accomplished any of those things through 9 games last year. Chris Coleman, I looked at it, guys. I was playing him like 9 or 10 minutes a game. Alejandro Vasquez, you didn't know he was capable of being a guy that could score 29 points in the AC championship game and walk up there and cut down those nets. Jabari has surpassed what they were doing early with his early production. He's been relatively stable. He's protected the ball. He gives us a physicalness with his ability to play with force on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. And he's learning and he's growing and he's understanding. So I'm really, really excited to see how the season progresses for him throughout his time here, because I think as he plays more, it'll slow down and he'll start becoming more comfortable.
Well, speaking of that, your next game, you got 4 non-conference games left on the slate before you take on North Texas as we start American play. But Friday, Bartow Arena, you got Prairie View, and I'm sure that it's more, at this point in the season, more about UAB than it is opponent.
Well, yeah, we've just got to play to who we are. We've got to play with more force. I talk about it all the time. Do everything with authority, and that's how I want us to play. I see a lot of hesitation. Some of it is because, again, we have not played well as it relates to shooting the ball. And again, a guy that made a living shooting the ball for a number of years, I understand that when you're not shooting it, it does bleed into other aspects of your game. And guys are looking around like, I used this analogy a few games back, like the emperor's got no clothes. Like, man, this isn't, I thought we were this before. What's happening? Yeah, we're all feeling that way. But you got to fight your way through it.
You are a student athlete. You're just showing off your smarts just constantly without even trying to. I've heard about you in history. Yep.
I got the award, by the way.
Yeah, well, of course. Coach Andy Kennedy, as we continue, it's the Inferno podcast. One of the standout players for the UAB Blazers. You're going to get to meet him up close and personal, all 6'9" of him. Yaxel Lendeborg, as we continue here on the Inferno podcast. Welcome back into the Inferno podcast. Landrum Roberts continuing to be joined by UAB head men's basketball coach Andy Kennedy and a player, I don't know if you could exactly spell his name. We call him Yaxel Lendeborg, standout forward last year and off to a great start this season. Yax, how are you? Welcome into the Inferno.
Doing pretty good. How about you?
We're doing great. I remember the first time that you ever suited up for the Blazers, and I'd heard about this Yax guy that was coming from Arizona Western, and he was a great player. And I can remember, right, where is he? And watching you and shoot around and going, man, if he's as good as he is pretty, and I mean that in a, he looks pretty as a player, then UAB's in really good shape, and you have not disappointed. Talk about the journey, first of all, Puerto Rico, New Jersey, Arizona, and then eventually what brought you here to the Magic City?
Well, the journey has been something that I'm very grateful for. It was a really long journey as well. But what brought me here was Coach AK's belief in me and belief in me as a player. He brought something into me that I didn't think I had, like the beliefs of going to the NBA. I was just playing basketball because it was fun at first, but, now I started to see a future because of him, and just everything he said to me stuck with me. So, I decided to be here and play with him, for him, and just stay with him the next year as well.
Take yourself back to those conversations, those initial conversations, getting to know Coach. And what was there anything did he come in? Did he have like a used car salesman pitch? Was there a particular line where that really resonated with you and you said, golly, I want to go play for that guy? Why Coach Andy Kennedy? What sold you on UAB?
Well, I mean, he played basketball as well, so there's not really that many player coaches that are coaching the game right now. But him and Cross did a great job. I would say what really stuck to me was when he was making NBA comparisons, and I never really got those. So when he made those, and it was like he really believes I can make it. So that's what pretty much stuck in my head the whole time, and what really helped me out.
What has been the biggest transition for you? Because I remember having a brief conversation, and we were talking about you coming from the junior college ranks and then trying to adjust to playing big-time college basketball. What aspects of the game have been most challenging for you?
The speed and athleticism for sure. Last year I really struggled with taking hits and like staying on balance. I'm still struggling with it now, but I've managed a little bit more. But yeah, that and just trying to think ahead of the game instead of just trying to be reactionary like they always say. But yeah, I'm still working on it. Your
personality, your makeup, and you seem like such an easygoing, just friendly guy to be around. But your role on the basketball court in being that power forward and being that imposing presence, is it a light switch do you turn on when you're thinking about wanting to stuff a ball down a shooter's throat, verticality versus taking the block charge? How do you turn it on when it comes game time, your personality to your game personality?
See, that just comes with how the game's flowing. Eventually, if I get mad enough, it just starts just going crazy. I can't really control much during the game, but there is a switch that I have during before practice and towards the games. But it's all just with adrenaline with me. So
Sometimes there's a power outage. We've had a couple of power outages in parts of. I mean, I'm over by the switch. I know where the switch is. Takes a little bit of a delay. We're working on that though.
I'm not going to disagree.
Call Alabama Power.
What, Coach? When you saw Yax, you first laid eyes on him and started watching his film, what immediately stood out to you?
You know what? He's got a gift. Number one, he's got legitimate size. Yax is 6'9", 240, 7'2" plus wingspan. He's got a gift for attracting the ball. I've been around really good rebounders, been very fortunate. It's the reason I've been able to be a coach. I've had good players. It's the reason I've sustained this thing for 18 years. But I've had all-time leading rebounders here, all-time leading rebounders there. And Yax just has a real special magnetic ability to get to that ball. Right now, and he would agree with this, right now he's sometimes when you've done what Yax has done, and this time last year we were talking about it prior to this segment, that nobody really know what Yax was capable of, even Yax. And then he started coming on about game 10, 11, 12. Here we go. Now he's starting to put up these monster numbers. And he ended up being the defensive player of the year and first team all-league and tournament MVP and preseason this and preseason that. Well, now people are saying, well, we need to see him do this. And so you have a tendency, and I get it. I mean, his aspiration is to play beyond college, and he'll have the opportunity to do so. But then you end up doing things that may not be to your strength to prove that you can do it. And as a result, I think he's drifted. I think you'll agree with this. He's drifted a little bit on the perimeter this year, and he is just so very good in that mid-range and his ability to garner balls. And I'm sensing that he understands that, and we continue to need to show his versatility, and we're doing things with him offensively we weren't able to do last year. But he's got a really, really special ability to get the ball. He's got such a sweet spirit. You know, he's a kind-hearted person. He's a compassionate person. He's a team-first guy. He's about all of the right things. He's a tremendous representative for our university. But I want him to be a little more of a dog when it's time to go be the best player. Right. You know, if your teammates are mad at you because you didn't pass it to them, I'll deal with that. I want you to go be the best player, and because that's what you got to do.
Absolutely. Well, and every team needs dogs. Yeah. Now, some teams have dogs that you can't pet. Yeah. Now, he doesn't strike me as one of those that you can't pet.
No, but when the neighbor, hey, I'm all about petting and all about fam. But I got a dog like when somebody that she does not recognize enters the yard, she's going to show her teeth. I just want him to show his teeth a little bit more when that opponent walks in our yard.
Are you comfortable wearing that coat? Well, first of all, a little bit of an unknown. People quickly recognized who you were as the season progressed last season. This year, different. There's the expectations. You're the focal point. I can guess that every team scouting report probably starts and ends with you.
Absolutely.
And being that dominant force that you've been. Are you comfortable right now in that role this early in your career?
I'm not really showing it as much, but I like to say that I am. But, you know, I have to make an adjustment, of course, and just be that guy. I have to be aggressive and, you know, always think that I have to go out there and make the play for the team. So, you know, I have been thinking more about it, you know, listening to what coach says, listening to my like role models are saying, those around me, and I will be taking a bigger step to do that.
It's just aggression with Yax. He said it earlier. He's kind of waiting for the game to come to him, and you can do that in a role. But you know, every team has to have a focal point. Yax is our focal point, and with that comes a responsibility to be that focal point. It doesn't mean you have to go out and be the leading scorer at every game. It doesn't mean that. But you have to be the initiator of action. And that's a role that Yax has got to get more comfortable with.
I asked Coach about it, but I want to get your thoughts on the first 9 games. There's plenty of season left, but the first 9 games in areas that you might be satisfied. I hate to say satisfied because you're never really satisfied, but maybe some areas that you've recognized that not only you yourself, but you guys as a team need to work on.
Defense, for sure. Our shooting as well has been really lackluster. You know, I hope we can pick that up soon. But I feel like we're not really together as a team as well. Like, we're not connected. We don't talk enough. We don't make the right plays. You know, our IQ is struggling as well. But it all comes down to defense. We've had many opportunities to win the games that we've, like, given up pretty much. And because of the defensive end, we lost that game.
Who is the vocal leader on your team?
It should be me, but right now we don't have one.
Okay. Well, I keep setting you up for questions, and I'm not.
Say that again for the people in the back. I mean, he admits it. You know, again, I said this earlier. Yeah, you know, I made this comment about our team, and I've said it to you guys every day. This team doesn't like hard. And then I started thinking about it. That's a stupid statement to make because, no, who likes hard, right? But you have to embrace hard, and you have to understand that in order to get what you want to get, you have to persevere through hard. Yeah. That's where this team has to get to. Nobody likes hard, but we've got to be able to persevere through. And then all of these things that we've talked about, I think, take care of themselves.
You agree with that, Yax?
Very much, yeah.
Are you comfortable being that vocal leader, or is that's something that's kind of forced?
I'm usually just a shy, timid guy that just, like, plays the game, but I don't know if I got it in me. I'm trying though.
Yax is a pleaser by nature. You know, much like me, you know, you can tell I'm very, you know, compassionate,
yes,
know, and giver.
Yes.
First.
Yeah, your body language never says otherwise on the sideline.
Never. But Yax is just he's a good-natured, go-along guy. But in order for him, and this is why this is the perfect marriage. In order for him to get out of this long-term what he wants, in order for our team to have the success that I think it has the potential to have, Yax has to be the alpha. And that may be uncomfortable for him, but he's got to get over that because that's the path. Hard is the way.
I feel like we're working through some pretty serious stuff and making progress.
I do
here
too.
in the short time we've been together.
I could really.
Right? I don't know where we are on minutes, but I feel like we're we're seeing the growth of an individual right in front of our very eyes. Are you going to get any taller? Is 6'9", is that the cutoff?
I want to say I'm 6'10" right now. You know,
6'10"?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
Okay, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, that's right. Just continue to play really good basketball. Yax, for the UAB fans that are watching and tuning in, that you would like to just express what through 9 games this season?
I want to say don't give up on us yet. You know, we had the same struggles last year. Feels a little different now, but I want to 100% guarantee that we will pick it up and be back where we were last year.
I do want to ask you a quick question. What is something that you know will fire your coach up in a bad way?
In a bad way?
Yeah, quickly.
Miss layup.
Miss layup, okay.
He calls them horse shots, which is a wide open shot.
Yeah, or open shots.
That way here sets him off to a T, and of course, a turnover. Like a turnover that we caused by ourselves. Nothing
unforced.
that the defense doing. Yeah, unforced. That right there, yeah.
Getting a little too cute with it.
Man, yes.
I just want us to, we call it operating right. I just want us to operate right. We talk about habits, and every day we go through it. And I get it, man. If you can't find joy in practice, again, you have to have the ability to endure it. And it's just part of the process. So I know the countless hours and time we spend on things. And then when we don't go do those things, it upsets me. I'll say that.
Yes.
I will agree. It upsets me.
Coach, we appreciate you hanging out here
Thanks,
in the Inferno. Hopefully we'll visit soon, but to winning. And it all begins Friday night. You'll finish up the non-conference slate for the next 4 games, and then you got North Texas, and we get into American Conference play, and it should be a whole lot of fun.
I'm with Yax. Don't give up on us yet. And I know that we have not done the things that were expected. Long season. We need you behind us in Bartow.
All right. Well, we're going to get Coach Kennedy out of here. Yax, you're going to stick around. We got something special lined up for you. Yeah, it's okay. You're amongst family. You're good. You're in a safe place. Episode 16, the Inferno podcast, as we continue to dive inside of UAB athletics and UAB men's basketball. Stay with us.
Trent Dilfer here, head football coach of the UAB Blazers. I want to tell you about my friends at Legacy Credit Union. Legacy began as University Credit Union in 1955 and remains committed to UAB faculty, students, alumni, and fans. Not only do they support the Birmingham community, but they are also proud sponsors of UAB and UAB athletics. Visit LegacyCreditUnion.com and find out why you should become a member today.
Welcome back into the Inferno podcast. Landrum Roberts, Yaxel, Lendeborg, star standout forward for the UAB men's basketball team. Yax, before we get into something fun, talk about your development, your maturation as a player. Coach Kennedy, when he was joining us, he said different aspects of your game and some of the things that you're fine-tuning here in your second season with the Blazers. Describe, first of all, on the defensive end, some of the things that you've been working on and putting into practice.
I've been trying to get my feet right. I have a problem with tangling my feet up when I'm trying to guard the ball, and that's really been holding me back a little bit. But I have to get better at my timing as well. I have been doing that, and just getting to the player's body before he gets into my body in the post. Those are the 3 main focuses for me right now.
What about the flip side on the offensive end? Because there's that tendency, and we see it from the professional ranks. And I know that there's a time and there's a place for it, but not just being that guy who's getting buckets in the paint and owning the lane, but also taking your game and trying to refine your outside shot. I know that Coach Kennedy, he understands that there's going to be part of that. I see you smiling right now because that's the tendency with all of you big guys these days, and that's why the NBA has changed so much from the time the game has changed, and there is more of a propensity for players to fire it up from outside. First of all, where's that happy medium for you, and how have you worked on that aspect of your game?
Yeah, all summer I've been working on just shooting threes, shooting pull-ups, just in case, taking what the defense gives me and stuff. But, I have been trying to get more post moves, trying to make sure I have like an inside-out game and not just inside like, coach would like. But, I've been working on three-point line as well, just having the confidence to shoot it in game, just so I can expand me and expand the offense.
Do you know your three-point stats right off the top of your head?
7 for 18.
You are 7 for 18.
Let's get it.
And that's right there at like 39%. Don't tell Coach that's not that bad. That's pretty good.
Hey.
But just be selective.
Yeah.
Time and score.
Yeah.
When your team needs it. But no, 7 of 18, that's pretty good, Yax.
Thank you.
I don't know why I'm whispering. It's like Coach is still it always feels like he's watching us,
That's right. True. I like that.
All right. Yaxel Lendeborg continuing to refine his game inside and out. Now it's time for our lightning round. And, you'll be honored. You're the first student athlete that we've ever done this with.
Okay, cool.
Okay? You kind of got an idea what lightning round is, right?
A little bit, maybe. Just
Okay.
a little, yeah.
All right, here we go. Pancake or waffle?
Pancakes.
Pancakes. Okay. Anything on top? That's a bonus question.
Chocolate chips.
Chocolate chips?
That'll be great, yeah.
Oh, so you go with sweet.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. I'm just a butter guy, but oh well. Celebrity dream date?
Tyler. Anywhere.
Really? Anywhere?
Anywhere with Tyler is cool.
Really?
Yep. I can go for a walk. That'd be great.
What's your biggest fear?
Dark. The dark.
The dark?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
That's why Coach Kennedy's
what's in
talking
the
about
dark?
turning off the lights at Bartow. Is he trying to terrorize you?
I like the lights on though, you know?
Well, okay. Do you have a night light?
I have the LED light behind my TV, yes.
Okay. So that helps you at night.
Very much.
It's always a good idea in the middle of the night when you go stumbling and trying to find things.
Yeah.
So especially you, because that's how weird injuries happen, and
That is
nobody
true.
believes them when the injury report comes out. But that actually does happen. All right, football position you would play if you played football.
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
Yes.
What's your
And
40 time?
I don't know.
You think you're a 4.5 sub guy?
Probably not. But, you know I have really good hands, so I feel like if the ball touches my hands, it's a catch, you know?
You could be like a Johnny Wilson last year for FSU, just a tall guy on the outside. He was only 6'7". Think about what you could do.
Yeah, or Megatron.
No. I mean, really?
Come on now.
Come
on now.
It starts and ends with Megatron.
Come on now.
And what he was able to
He's
do.
tall,
And I actually
I'm tall.
watched him play college football, so that's
on
how
now.
old I am.
I look just like him. Hands, come on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, if you can retire at an early age and be worth hundreds of millions of dollars,
Hope so. Yeah.
you'll be even more like him. All right, playing basketball against Michael Jordan in his prime or LeBron in his prime, and you better get this right.
Michael Jordan.
There it is. There it is. And his gear is so. What do you kids say? Neat, clean.
Yeah, clean, valid, yeah.
Okay. Favorite pregame meal?
I go to Tropical Smoothie and get the grilled bacon ranch chicken, something like that. And
Okay.
And the smoothie. I'm forgetting the name. I'm blanking.
That's fine.
But it is a smoothie with the chicken bacon ranch sandwich. Tropical
So you
smoothie.
don't go anything too heavy.
No.
I'm trying to remember. It was Paul Skeens, who's a pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he's dating Olivia Dunn. And he said that his go-to pregame meal before he goes out there and pitches, and granted, it's in Major League Baseball in the summertime, is fettuccine Alfredo with chicken.
No, that's insane.
No,
I don't
that
think I can
is
handle
insane.
That. That's gonna make me happy. I can't really.
No, nobody needs to see that. Favorite professional sports team?
Basketball,
Any.
Dallas Mavericks. Baseball, Cincinnati Reds, and football, the Washington Redskins.
Cincinnati Reds, really?
Yeah.
It's been a minute for you guys.
Yeah. Man.
Go Braves.
Wow.
What about your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. Have you heard of the Netflix series Vampire Diaries?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that a couple times. I've seen it recently as well.
Really?
Nobody knows that, of course.
Do you binge it?
I have.
Really? Do you? Is that ice cream and like a warm pair of socks when you're watching this?
Actually, yogurt, mixed yogurt.
Mixed yogurt.
Peanut butter, honey, grapes, stuff like that, yeah.
Okay. If you could live in any city outside of the United States, what city would it be?
Man, Bahamar, is that what it's called? Nassau, something like that?
Nassau, Bahamas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Seems like a good place to go.
Very nice, yeah,
Weather stays nice.
of course.
Yeah. If you're not playing basketball, something that you would like to do after school.
I wouldn't mind being an actor. That would be great.
An actor.
Yeah, pretty cool.
I feel like that there's probably some roles for you.
Hope so. I got some movies, just in
But
case.
you don't want to get typecast into playing
Well,
in a basketball movie, just
yeah, I
being
don't
that
want
tall
that.
guy,
I'd rather, have you heard of the Joker?
Yeah.
Had to.
right?
I would love to be the next Joker. If they need me, I'm right here.
Can you do the impersonation right now? Give us your best Joker.
Let's see what I got. It's like, do you want to know how I got these scars? My father was a drinker and a fiend, and that's why I'm lost.
That's so good. Yeah,
That's my favorite thing to say.
Yax, I'm out of questions. Man, it has been fun catching up with you, getting to know you, and I'm sure UAB fans, not only are you outstanding on the court, you're a chill dude and great getting to know you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yaxel Lendeborg, as we continue, it's the Inferno podcast. UAB Athletics continues in a moment.
The if in life, it's a world of possibilities. If you go for a night out with friends, if you can keep an eye on your money along the way. If you know you have overdraft protection with no-fee transfers from savings, when you get a low balance alert, it's easier to say yes to fun. If that sounds good, try Regions Life Banking.
Stay ready for the if in life. Regions Bank embrace the if in life.
Well, that's going to do it for episode 16 here on the Inferno podcast. We appreciate our special guest, UAB men's basketball coach Andy Kennedy, and star forward Yaxel Lendeborg for stopping by. And once again, you can find all things UAB athletics at uabsports.com. Men's basketball coming up Friday as they host Prairie View at Bartow Arena. Women's basketball traveling to the Plains of Auburn to take on the Lady Tigers on Sunday. From all of us to all of you, thanks for joining us. Go Blazers. This is the Inferno Podcast, the official podcast of UAB Athletics. Blazer fans, this is the place each week to get an inside look into UAB Athletics. This episode of the Inferno Podcast is brought to you by the Alabama Department of Public Health and Pearl River Resort.